Okay. Hopefully that's all coming through.
We're live on YouTube, I think. Is that what this is?
Yeah. And the other one's taking a couple
It's
seconds.
Went to the gym today. I feel good.
You go, oh yeah. I wish I would. A couple of times I exercised. It was very nice. Should do it
I
more
went
often.
Monday. I went Monday and I went today.
Nice.
I do a run for like 10 minutes and then I do like a full body.
Okay. That is, yeah, significantly better than what I'm doing.
Yeah, it feels good to do it. So that's one of those where like I can tell. And I found this like there's like this machine there that like works out. It's supposed to like work out your butt muscles, but it also works out the lower back like inside muscles, which is like literally where my back pain is. And ever
Yeah.
since I've been doing it, I can tell like there's like a slight difference where it's like a slight improvement when I'm like standing and everything. It feels better.
Oh yeah. You'll have to send me what that one is.
It's like this machine where you literally just sit on it and then you just like you move your back backwards and like you push the weight back like as you lean back like this.
Oh
Literally you
yeah.
just do that. And then it's like your sitting position. And it like yeah, it does a good job of like getting that all done. It feels a whole lot better when I get it, when I do it.
Okay. My copy with that. All
So
right.
it's nice because like I said, that's where my lower back pain is from, years ago when I broke the vertebrae and the disc popped out and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah. Just a little break. All right. I'm gonna
yeah,
also
and
start recording Audacity stuff as well.
okay. I've actually been recording the whole time, so I should probably I'm just gonna stop that and delete that. Don't need you.
Yeah.
It's been recording for like 9 minutes. All right, there we go.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, we've been live.
No, I know, but it's one of those where
Oh,
like
okay.
we're just chatting at the beginning, and then
I didn't
once
know
we're
if that was
actually
gonna be a
ready.
surprise.
No, it's like one of those where it's easier for me to edit when like I like go like okay, we have a starting point, like you're ready to go, boom, okay, and then I like swing into my intro. It makes it easier because then I literally just cut this whole first bit out, and I just go like goodbye. So
We need one of the clappers or whatever, the film clappers. It'd be a lot easier.
it's not even that. It's really just like I skip ahead to where I'm like, okay, and then as soon as I hear me go like, oh, and then you're like, yep, we're live, ready to go. Then I know that like, okay, we're about to start, and then that's where like I cut it.
Yeah.
So,
Smart.
all right. Well, anyways,
We're live.
we're live,
There you
ready
go.
to go. So I'll burp and then begin this off here. Oh, another one. So, anyways, welcome back, one and all, to yet another week, another podcast, bunch of fun topics. NBA Finals finished yesterday. The Greek Freak finally gets his title to add to the many trophies in his room that he'll hopefully continue to grow. And what an incredible series it was, and what an incredible comeback from him just alone. Just the fact that he was able to do that. So that's incredible. We'll talk about that. That's obviously where we're going to lead off the show. I've been a Giannis fan since he got drafted, and literally, I know that sounds funny, but like, Craig, who is one of my good friends, can tell you that I texted him on draft night that like Giannis was going to be a good player, and I was like, dude, I hope the Bulls get Giannis. That's who I want. And then he went to the Bucks at 12, and it's because I'd seen him in Greece, and I was like, dude, this guy's like a near 7-footer and can also like dribble the ball and bring it up court and everything like that. I was like, that's insane. So I've been watching him for years, and I'm happy to see him finally reach the level that I know he could be at. So that was great. So we're going to lead off the show with that, which we'll talk about shortly. We're also going to hit the NFL news. Obviously, we got some fun headlines to kind of shuffle through, some comments thrown out here and there that are just fun to, of course, address. We have the Olympic talk. Are they actually going to go on? Your guess is as good as ours and as good as Tokyo's at this point. So, here we are. Next, we're also going to talk about golf. We're going to talk about some NCAA football a little briefly, and we're also going to get into some Marvel talk because we're big Marvel fans, and just superhero fans in general. And me and you, I just finished the Loki series over the weekend. I also saw Black Widow. We're not going to talk about Black Widow yet because you haven't seen it. but we'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, so that's all on the agenda today. But we of course are going to start off with the championship series that ended last night. The Milwaukee Bucks as the NBA champions. It was a hard fought series, and one that we had been saying on this channel that we thought that the Suns were going to win in 6, and really part of my lack of faith was that I just didn't think that the Bucks with Giannis were going to be able to do it, because I just didn't think there was going to be enough around Giannis. But Giannis just said, you know what? I don't need enough around me. I'll just do it myself. It was a very Thanos moment, like, you know, I put the glove on, like, fine, I'll just do it myself kind of thing. And that's what he did. And yeah, he did get help from Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, so it was awesome to see an incredible series. And I think right off the bat, I can say this with a lot of confidence. Giannis is the best player in the world right now. And that's without a doubt. If you watch the two-way player that he was yesterday, there's just absolute activation of a clutch gene that a lot of people questioned if he had. That dude fully activated that in the last 2 games easily, without hesitation. He was hitting everything. I mean, every shot. It was, you know, the Bucks desperately needed him to hit something. Bam, he hit it. You know, we'll talk about 2 stat lines later that I think really were basically the entire winning for them. But the journey that Giannis went on is where I'd like to start. It's incredible. Like I said, I remember watching him in Greece, and I remember draft night, like I said, texted my friend Craig and was like, man, I really hope the Bulls get Giannis. Obviously didn't happen, but he fell to the Bucks, and that's where his journey began. Him and Chris Middleton, who played in the G League, which was actually where he started, which is pretty cool too, that he came that far. Him and Giannis have been together for 8 years. And I think one of the greatest moments ever yesterday was when during the trophy ceremony and everything, Giannis, they asked, you know, what it meant to have a teammate like that to Giannis, and Giannis just looked over, and it was one of those genuine moments where he just goes, "We finally did it," and like you just see Chris smile and everything, and it was just like a great like camaraderie.
Editorialize how he said that, but true.
Yeah, it was just like a camaraderie, like awesome, like just very natural, like, yeah, we finally did it. Like, we've been together for 8 years and we finally did it. So that was great. And then yeah, his journey is incredible. I mean, if you look at this, I mean, the dude literally came in the league like, first off, it looks like he grew like 2 or 3 at least 2 inches, I would say. So he came in the league like 6'9" to, you know, 196, raw prospect. You know, this kid who was playing point guard at 6'9", which is what drew me interested in him, and why I started to follow his career from the moment basically was finishing his last year up professionally over there. And then he, you know, got drafted to the Bucks, and that's when I became, you know, then I started watching him every year and everything, and became a big fan of his, and I've always rooted for him. I did not believe very hard in the Bucks this year, which is where I should have, apparently a lot more, and I get it. The Suns felt like they were on a magical run, and that's, you know, you go with what you believe, and that's what I believed. But the Bucks proved me wrong, and I'm happy that they did, because it was an incredible run, and Giannis's journey to get there was amazing, and I'm glad to finally see him get a ring. And that was kind of the not last hump that he had to climb over to really kind of assert himself, but I mean, it was. I mean, you know, it's always talked about, great players are always talked about as, you know, if Giannis, for example, never won a championship, he'd fall in line with everybody, you know, the Charles Barkleys of the world that, you know, were these great players that just never won a title. And so the fact that he finally did is awesome. And I think, like I said, I think that this, in my opinion, puts him the greatest player in the world, or the best player in the world, I should say.
So. Certainly looked like it. I did actually watch the majority of the final game, and yeah, I still can't believe that this is post that knee injury. Like, it's ridiculous, especially all the blocks and everything that he had to. It's hard to believe. I mean, like, literally, again, the 50 points in a game and everything and all that, and they would be nowhere. I mean, I feel like they'd be nowhere close if he actually had been out for the finals, like how everyone had thought. Like, obviously huge subtraction, but it's crazy. It's crazy that he didn't just play adequately, but he literally dominated still after people thought he was going to be done. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the scope of what he did is incredible on its own. And then when you put that next to the fact that he had that ridiculously like scary leg injury where it was like, oh man, Giannis could be done. This could be it. Like, and if the Giannis wasn't on this team, the Bucks are losing this and possibly a sweep to the Suns. So there's no question about that. They absolutely needed every bit of Giannis's ridiculous run on this series. So it's just that was incredible and just it was awesome to see. And to kind of highlight, we'll move on to talk about the games themselves. Talking about the player who highlighted them, but we'll talk about the games. Game 5 is where we'll start. Giannis played an incredible game 5, I would say. It was one of his, he dropped 32 points. He contributed on the defensive end as well. He played just a very good game, and it's one of those where when Giannis plays a very good game, his teammates need to, at least supply him with something in order for them to be viable in winning this. So at the end of the game, you had this incredible moment where the Suns are down by 1 point with the ball, and I believe it was under 30 seconds left in the game. So we're talking, the Suns could take the lead here, and then the Bucks would have one more possession to try to take the lead back. And you can question, their shot, them being able to make a shot at the end of the game, that kind of thing. So it's a whole different story if this doesn't happen. But essentially, Jrue Holiday came in, which this is what they got Jrue Holiday for. This is what they paid for, and this is what they were hoping to get, is his incredible defense that he played this entire series on Devin Booker and Chris Paul alike. He was a huge contributor as to why those two guys went on some cold streaks during this series. And so to see Jrue Holiday, this was like the epitome of everything you had hoped that he would be, is getting Jrue Holiday the steal right at the end of the game, took it from Devin Booker. They were up 120 to 119. It was an incredible defensive effort. It's just, there's not very many guys on this planet that can do what he just did in that possession, and he did, and it was incredible. And then it led to a fantastic finish by Giannis to finish off with the dunk there, which you can see in a second here.
Yeah.
But yeah, he finished off with an incredible dunk that it capped off like a perfect series where you started, like, after that series happened in game 5, you're like, man, like the Bucks really, like, they took the series back. Now it's 3-2, and they look like they're about to run away with it in game 6, and that's what happened. In game 6 they played incredibly, but game 5 was really, that was the entire, like, the Bucks had won a couple games before that. Obviously the series was 2-2 when this game was going on, so it's not like the Bucks were out of the series and this changed everything, but it definitely became like, okay, yeah, they're winning this title, like they're going to take this title, if that's a better way of saying it. And then you move into game 6, and game 6 was back and forth for a while. Teams went on runs, of course. It's the NBA. That's how it always works. They always go on runs. Third quarter is always a big quarter for every team. It was big for the Bucks in this case to get back even, or get up there even, with the Suns leading into the fourth quarter. So then you were kind of set up for a fantastic fourth quarter where the Suns are facing elimination. They're the best. I believe the Suns were the best away team this year, and then the Bucks were the best home team. So of course that sets up an incredible fourth quarter. And then, things happened. And, I actually took a screenshot of one of the possessions that I wanted to highlight, which was just kind of an overarching issue that the Suns had. And it was just that they just couldn't hit threes when it mattered. Right here in this possession, Chris Paul wasn't bad by any means. Chris Paul actually played very well. If you go look at the stat line and just overall of the game, he played very well. They really took advantage of trying to get him off of Jrue Holiday, and then when he was off of Jrue Holiday, he would get to his spot, right at the top of the key and hit the mid range, or he would, dish it out. They started to get into their offense that way. And the Bucks played, an incredible job getting, a lot of defensive possessions. Obviously, Giannis came up huge, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But yeah, this is just one of those. Right here is a perfect example where, so right here on this possession, the game, I believe the Suns are down by like 8 right here. So the 3 here would be huge because that would put them within 2 possessions with like 35 seconds left, 40 seconds left, which is a lot of time. And if you hit this 3, you get the motivation, kind of momentum going your way a little bit. The whole game could change. And this was one where basically, I believe Crowder set a pick and then he came off the pick to the right. He went over top of it and had enough separation, as you can see right here, where he felt comfortable enough to step up into a three off the dribble, and enough separation between the two guys, as you can see, where this, is not a very heavily contested three. This is one that he should make when he's stepping up into it in rhythm, and he bricked it. And that's how it felt this whole series, is that they just struggled to hit shots when they needed to. One of the biggest stat lines, so there's two stat lines that really highlight why this game was won by the Bucks. One of the biggest stat lines was 0 for 7, and that stat line comes from Devin Booker being 0 for 7 from 3 this game.
Yep.
Which is huge. I mean, that takes them out of their, the offense. He was, it's a much different game if he's hitting even half those, because the times when he was taking those shots towards the end of the games where it would have been crucial, they were down 2 and were trying to get momentum back by taking a 3 and taking the lead, and then he brick it. Then the Bucks would go down and, finish, and, now you're down by 2 possessions. That happened a few times where it was, it's one of those where I don't know if Devin Booker was tired or if Devin Booker just struggles to hit shots at the end of games, which, can be a problem for some players. Some players can be very, very good in this league and very great scorers, but then, struggle to have that kind of clutch gene at the end. But, I don't know. Not an indictment on Devin Booker in any way. I mean, he's 22 years old. It's not like not like he's not going to be there for a while. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he came in the league, he was like 18 years old, I think, or 19 years old when he got drafted. So,
Nice.
Not by any means not old. So, but yeah, that stat line really, I told you, I said to you, I was like, yeah, that was one of the stat lines. And you were even saying to me, you're like, yeah, they could not hit shots.
Yep. I mean, just watching it was just like, up, and they could get back in it. I think there was another time, I think that was probably the worst, just for the Suns in general, that I think Booker had. It was not an open 3, but he could have hit it he could have hit it. He normally would hit it, and it would have brought him within, I think, 3 or 4 points, kind of like what you're saying before. This was late in the fourth quarter, I think, too. Just after that, it kind of just left, and it never came back. That was like their last chance.
Yeah, it was just like missed opportunities after missed opportunities offensively. And when you're relying on Crowder to hit threes for you and really basically be like the scorer in game 6, a deciding game in a series, like that's not going to work. Like, it's not going to happen. There's a reason why James Crowder's not, one of the star players in this league. I mean, he's a very good player. He's a very good two-way player, but he should not be the guy you're relying on for that. I mean, yeah, like I said, it's bad. It was bad, missed opportunities all around. And then the other stat line, which I'll highlight, which was incredible, is 17 for 19. And if you don't know what that pertains to the guy who can't shoot free throws, apparently, which was Giannis shooting 17 from 19 at the free throw line, which is insane. I mean, you want to talk about a team trying their best to just hack Giannis and send him to the free throw line and just hoping at some point he misses. And he just said, nah, I'm just going to hit every free throw. Like, it was incredible. What an incredible free throw run, and unbelievably clutch. Like I said, that's why I would say, like, he just like flipped a clutch gene that he apparently had laying there in his body dormant, until the time when he reached the finals, and then he activated it and went off, and it was incredible. I mean, when you get mentioned in the games you're having as the only other player to do things that you're doing in the series is Michael Jordan, it's pretty good company. And so the fact that he was just going off, and the fact that he shot 17 of 19 from the free throw line, I mean, it's just incredible. Like, if he misses, let's say that he misses 6 of those, I mean, we're talking, it's a different game, because I mean, that's how close this game was the entire game. So you miss a couple of those, and now you're talking the Bucks are down for maybe most of the game. And so it's wild to see how just unbelievably reliable, and just when you needed a bucket, he got you it, and when he got fouled, he hit those shots. Just awesome, just amazing to watch. It was incredible. And again, it's just another reason why at this point, I think you have a tough time arguing whether or not anybody else is better than him right now in the world. I mean, after that game, it was just incredible.
No more Suns fans forever. What's up? Very happy about very happy
Yeah,
about
this
that.
is yeah, see, this is I had to wear I actually had the jersey the whole time and was like, man, I've been like I said, I've been a Giannis fan for since he got drafted. And so then to finally see, him just become like him evolve into, the best player in the world. And like I said, the activation of the clutch gene that he had this entire series is the sole reason why he took over as the best player in the world. And then you throw in the fact that he's a really, really effective two-way player playing defensively and then also doing it all offensively and doing it when you needed it most is the reason why he is that way.
Yeah. Bubble
So,
heartbreak. Yeah, that was
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
long
it
time
was
ago now.
and it's wild too because like and the other thing too is and I agree. I think I heard who did I hear say this? It was somebody said this. I'm trying to think. It might have been Shannon. Said like I don't know what Monty Williams was doing, but putting DeAndre Ayton on Giannis for most of like the third quarter and like late game situations was just I don't like dumb. I just like why do you think that Ayton was going to be able to cover Giannis? Like I don't understand that. So unbelievable. But yeah, no, it is Giannis. It's just incredible. He's fantastic, and I absolutely love too what he said at the end of the game and the press conference afterwards, which was awesome. Which he kind of took a shot, you know, rightfully so, at the super teams, and basically saying that he could go win a title easy on a super team, but decided to do it the right way and stay on his team, stay loyal, build the team, and him and Chris Middleton are champions. So yeah, no, I'm all for a team that was homegrown to not just be or to be the champions rather than a team like the Nets who are just like, hey, we're gonna throw as much star power as we can into the lineup and hope that works.
Yeah. I hope I don't know. I hope it makes changes like elsewhere. Like obviously I don't think it's gonna change too much for like the Lillard situation, but
No,
it's just so
well,
boring year
the
after
thing with
year.
Lillard though is he wants to his top destination is the Knicks, as far as trades go, which actually wouldn't be a bad move because the Knicks were good this year, but they lacked like a number one like alpha star talent, and Damian Lillard would immediately be that. So
Right.
and so that team would be actually really fun to watch if Damian Lillard joined them. But no, Dylan, it's not over. You know what rumor I heard today, which I thought was hilarious, and I was like, of course, right after Giannis says that the super team, beating us, he could be on a super team. I saw a thing that said that the Lakers are interested in acquiring Russell Westbrook.
That's weird, really?
Yeah, so then it would be Westbrook, Giannis, or Westbrook, LeBron, and AD.
It's so I don't know. Whatever, man. Again, it's why the NBA has like shit viewership sometimes. It's just really seeing that over and over again is really sad.
Yeah, well,
That's not entertaining at all.
that's why this title, like this championship, was awesome because it was two teams that
Yeah.
were like, yeah, the Suns got Chris Paul, but like the Suns, like the rest of the Suns team besides Chris Paul was like a up and coming young talented team that was homegrown, and then you just had that big free agent that they signed. Like it's different when a team signs a big free agent to kind of complete their build versus like I mean the Bucks did it. The Bucks got Drew Holiday and that completed their big three and they won the championship. So this was such a better finals in my opinion to watch than the past because and don't get me wrong, like the 2016 finals, watching the Cavs overcome the Warriors was incredible because it was the 73-9 team, oh, they're the best team potentially of all time. And it's like, yeah, well, don't mean a thing without a ring. So, how's that going? But yeah, no, it was an awesome series to watch because it was just two homegrown teams that, finally got the extra piece to put them over the edge. And that's what happened.
Yeah. No, I like this way much better. It's just it's just better to see smaller market teams win. I
Hmm.
mean, I just you're gonna see so much stuff about like, oh, okay, well, yeah, everyone got injured this off season, so like it doesn't matter. And then people are still like, oh, talking about, you got the Mickey Mouse ring and all that stuff. Just like people are insufferable for every championship. This one, not so much as the bubble, but just hearing different takes already is just really disheartening.
Well, and here's the
I don't
thing:
know
if
what
you
you
don't
have to
think the
do.
Bucks, if you don't think the Bucks didn't deserve this championship, just go take a peek at Giannis's stat line for this entire series and tell me that that's not the best player in the world, and that the best player in the world on the best team didn't win, because that's what
Mhm.
happened. So, and the Suns are an incredible team as well. So the fact that the Bucks overcame the Suns is incredible, because the Suns, you know, you can make arguments all you want about Kawhi Leonard, being injured, and that while the Clippers weren't at full strength, and that's the Suns, that series would have been different. Maybe the Bucks are playing against the Clippers, and Chris Paul and Paul George or Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are taking turns guarding Giannis, and that's a different change. Great, fun. Glad we can talk about hypothetical that doesn't exist and didn't happen, because even when those two were healthy, they haven't shown that they can actually make it to a conference championship, let alone a finals. So, what are we talking about?
Yeah, no,
Or win a
agree.
conference championship, let alone a finals win. So, what are we talking about with that? So, yeah, the Giannis is the best player in the world, and the Bucks were the best team in the NBA, and they won it, and that's all that needs to be said.
Yeah.
So,
And
oh
now
boy,
finally the NBA season comes to a close, and just right around the corner, the NFL season starts. Crazy.
yeah, of course. And we continue the NFL talk, and we continue the Aaron Rodgers saga, which is just continues. And this newest news made me laugh, because I was just like, it was hilarious, because you're like, oh, I wonder if it was Aaron Rodgers' team or the Green Bay Packers' team that put out the latest news. So for anybody that doesn't know or is out of the loop for some reason, because this was literally talked about over and over again, Aaron Rodgers apparently turned down a 2-year extension that would have made him the highest paid player in the league, and it would have kept him in Green Bay for 5 years. And it's like, really, I wonder, gee, whose team put that out? Do you think Aaron Rodgers' team put that news out, to make Aaron Rodgers look good? Like, no, of course the freaking, Green Bay Packers put this out, because the Green Bay Packers are trying to be like, hey, we know that we haven't literally done anything to help you like win the championship, except for like, draft your replacement. But like, we tried to give you a lot of money, and it's like, great. And that's why, like, the funny part about this is people are like, oh, I can't believe he's just gonna turn down that money. Like, this is what he wanted, an extension. And it's like, no, 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 no. He wanted an extension, and he also wanted the Packers to get their heads out of their, what, and start actually drafting players that are going to contribute to the needs that the team has. And the reason why they've gotten to the NFC Championship and not gotten to the Super Bowl the last couple of years. Like, it's one of my favorite lines, if you watch the Pat McAfee show, is oh god, what's his name? He's a huge Packers fan, and on draft night he was playing like a Mad Mel Kiper, which is also an incredible. If you haven't seen Mad Mel Kiper, that's incredible. Just go watch that clip on YouTube. But they after they drafted Jordan Love, he literally goes, they go, "What do you think about this pick?" And he goes, "Unless this son of a bee is gonna put on 70 pounds and play D tackle, I don't know what the hell we're doing." And I was like, exactly. That's what everybody like. Why are like, hey, you guys almost made it to the Super Bowl and lost to the 49ers because you couldn't stop the run. So let's draft a quarterback and then maybe a tight end and a running back.
Yeah.
Like, what did you think was going to happen like the next year? Oh, we made it to the NFC Championship again, and we lost. And it's like, what did you expect? You didn't like do anything great to improve the team. And then this year they're like, oh, we drafted some offensive line help. We drafted a corner because that was an issue that we had. And it was like, still not seeing a top receiver that he can throw to besides freaking, what's his face? Devontae Adams. Like,
right.
yeah, he's got Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams, but his tight end is Tunyon. And his other wide receivers are, Valdez Scantling, who, yeah, has great numbers on deep, routes and stuff. But guess what? He's got Aaron Rodgers freaking throwing him the ball. I'm sure most wide receivers would have great numbers if they had Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, throwing them the ball, or Tom Brady. Like,
Right.
what are we talking about there? So then, then you also look at it, it's like, well, they got Lazard, or whatever freaking you say you pronounce his name. It doesn't matter because when he's on the field, he plays pretty well. And it's like, again, he has Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball. You can look pretty good when you have that throwing the ball. Get him an actual weapon that will create without Aaron Rodgers having to create for them. And that's the difference there, is that that's why he's pissed. And that's why he turned down the contract extension, because it's not about the money. I don't know why people have still, like, I don't know what people are still like thinking in their heads at this point. Like, oh, all Aaron cares about is the money. And no, Aaron cares about freaking winning the championship for once, after being close to it multiple years. And his team just kind of went, I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, do what hey, I know that you're playing super well. We're gonna draft your replacement. And Aaron Rodgers went like, what are we doing here? Like, then has an MVP season, and what do? They let go of his, number one center. And again, draft a corner and a rookie center to replace him.
Yeah.
Like, can't imagine why the guy's mad. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we went through it before, but they just like outthought themselves or thought that it was just being really smart. Like, oh, let's think really far into the future. He's gonna fall off. He's falling off. Whatever. And obviously that didn't really work out. So I mean, people think he'll be gone next season, but he'll play this one. I don't
I
know.
agree with that. I think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think getting, sorry, one
Getting
second.
J. Holiday and Bobby P. Portis is the difference between the Bucks and the Packers. The Bucks listened to Giannis and look what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember the
Exactly.
last time the
That's the other
Packers had a
thing.
good tight end, like an
That's the
actual really good one.
um
I mean, it had to have
Finley?
been.
Finley was pretty good, right? Or am I just like, is that like he had, Aaron Rodgers throwing him too?
Yeah,
I feel like Finley was pretty good.
like a
But
Tunyon as well.
what
Mark
did you say? Yeah.
Chumra, but he got pedo-ish. Oh, I don't
Mm,
know anything about that.
don't know about that, but that, the point is, and here's another thing too, which they said very well they highlighted on the Pat McAfee show, which I agree, is the amount of times that you see teams like Tom Brady and the Bucks, where the Bucks are like, hey, we'll give you whatever you want. Who do you want? You want Rob Gronkowski? Boom, we'll get him out of retirement. Who cares? Like, they went and got whoever he wanted and brought them to the Bucks. Then you go look at Patrick Mahomes. Hey, Patrick, you want more weapons? Boom, we got you. You want more tackles because your offensive line couldn't block to save them lives in the Super Bowl? We'll get you. We'll pen a ridiculous amount of money on tackles and draft offensive linemen and blah. Like, it's just the amount of, Peyton Manning, when he was in the league, it was, hey, Peyton, what do you want? You don't like that receiver? Okay, he's gone. Sorry. And then, oh, you like that guy? Yeah, he'll be on the field. That's the type of power that those guys had, and the team trusted them because that was their guy, and that's who's won them Super Bowls, and that's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And you don't win a Super Bowl generally unless you have one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. The Packers have had that for 40 years, and
Yeah.
they've won 2 titles. And part of that is because they just keep trying to do things, like trying to be cute almost with the organization. Like, drafting a corner, like, your defense, yeah, your corner was part of the problem. Like, putting Kevin King out there is a liability on its own. But like, for the love of God, you can address that in free agency. Sign a corner, like, do what the Bears did, and sign Trufant. Like, sign
Yeah.
somebody like that can come in and play at least better than Kevin King. So then you don't have to worry about that. So then come draft time, you can go, hey, Aaron, what do you want? You want a wide receiver? Okay, let's go get the best wide receiver. Oh, you want a tight end? Okay, well, let's go get you the best tight end, or the second best tight end. Like, that's the problem. That's the disconnect that's happening, is that Aaron Rodgers has always been subjected to whatever they give him, and it's never been enough, obviously. And, they're always a very good team that just never makes it, because guess what? Patrick Mahomes, the Bucks beat him. Oh, well, who do the Bucks have? Well, the Bucks have got Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski. They got Leonard Fournette. They got Marquise Goodwin and Mike Evans. And then
Yeah.
they got Miller, and they brought in Antonio Brown when people weren't going to give Antonio Brown a chance because Tom Brady liked him. Here you go, Tom. Like, it's just, those are the type of things that Aaron Rodgers does not get or
Chris
is not
Godwin,
privileged to.
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, Chris Godwin. I don't know if it was mispronounced or if it just wasn't
No,
added, but he's him too.
I said Chris Godwin. That was the
Okay,
first wide
yeah.
receiver I
Yeah.
mentioned.
I mean, also their line too, like their defensive line
Yeah,
is completely
it,
different than the Packers. You can't run on
yeah.
that. Oh, you said Marquise Goodwin.
Oh,
Oh, Bears
Marquise
got in
good.
there. There you go.
Oh yeah, there we go. I stuck in with the Bears signing. But anyways, yeah, Godwin. You had Godwin, Evans, Antonio Brown. You know, Scotty Miller became one of his favorite targets. I mean,
Yeah.
they gave him whatever he needed. And then you look at Aaron Rodgers, and they haven't drafted a skilled position player in the first round of the draft for 16 years. I think it was.
Yeah.
Like it's 16 years. I mean, the Bears have drafted more failed, skilled
shoot your shot.
positions like than they have.
Yeah. No, I don't know where they're gonna go from here. It's fun to figure it out. I mean,
I think this
time's
is his
running
last
out.
year.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, I'm
I think
curious
this
to
is
see
his
how
last year.
he'll handle this season then. I mean, obviously if that's the resounding energy or that's the feeling and stuff is like this is gonna be it, and there's nothing really can fix this.
I think what happens, honestly, you want to give me my best guess right here? We'll clip this and keep this on ice until next year. I think what you're going to see potentially is Aaron Rodgers play this year. They're probably going to lose in the playoffs. They're probably going to go deep. They're probably going to lose again, and everybody's going to go, "Yeah, this is what Aaron's been talking about for years." And then Aaron's going to leave and either get traded or probably get traded. And I bet you he's going to go to Denver. And I bet you it's because Denver this year is going to go, we're going to wait, and they're going to trot out Teddy Bridgewater or Locke. And neither of those two guys are going to be it because they haven't been. And that's just how it is. And then Aaron Rodgers is going to get traded to them, and Aaron's going to be a Bronco to finish his career. That's what's going to happen. That's the tea leaves that I'm reading right now. So this is your last year. Everybody enjoy, your final year of having a Hall of Fame quarterback, because next year, after this year, you get Jordan Love. So congrats. Have fun with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
welcome to where Bears
entertaining.
fans have been for our entire lives.
Don't speak too soon. We have to at least make it to training camp and see how that goes.
Yeah,
but yeah,
well,
I don't know.
Listen. The fact that when you look at the photo of Justin Fields and Deshaun Watson practicing together, you don't even realize that the third quarterback in that picture is Jordan Love. The reason why that is the case is because Jordan Love is Jordan Love and is not Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. So yeah, like I said, congratulations, welcome, and you got one more year, and then you're right where we've been. You could join me and us and the Lions right at the bottom of the pack for how it's been. Can't wait. Have fun with that.
Yeah, I don't know what I saw earlier. I saw something that was I thought it was like a fake tweet. It was so funny. It was like someone who who always deep cleans homes or whatever, like they haven't deep cleaned the home in like 10 years or whatever. Did you send me that tweet? Or did you see that?
Yeah, I sent you this tweet. I sent you it. We have the picture.
I don't fake tweet.
Do you have the picture?
I don't think I have a picture. Let's grab it.
Oh yeah, it's such great like little conversation. Because, like, honestly, I do think that Aaron Rodgers is playing for the Packers this year, and we're making a bunch of jokes, but yeah, I think that's 100% probably going to happen. But man, the little things that throw like a little wrench in the plans or just get you to make you think that, like, oh, maybe there's a chance. And this tweet was one of those, and that's why it's hilarious. Yeah, see, there it is. I have the tweet. Okay, perfect. I'll get this on screen here in just a moment. Yeah, this is the tweet. So my girlfriend's supervisor works for home cleaning service, cleans Aaron Rodgers' house, and he ordered a deep clean, which a lot of people are like, either A, he's moving back in the house, or B, the more enjoyable answer, he's getting ready to sell.
Yeah,
that's it. Aaron Rodgers is gone. Goodbye.
Of all the places to get your speculation from, that's a new one. That's for sure.
Listen, this where this falls is, this falls in that category of when LeBron James hadn't said he was going to the Lakers yet, and then Chrissy Teigen. Did you see that? Did you ever see that? Chrissy Teigen, she posted a picture of her being she was at like a clothing shop, and LeBron was picking up an embroidered like LeBron Lakers jersey, and this is like before he announced he was going to be a Laker or anything. and like the official news had dropped in, so it was literally like Chrissy Teigen had like broke the news that LeBron was going to the Lakers.
That's funny. Was it taken seriously at the time?
Yeah, people were like, yeah, I mean, if LeBron's at a shop picking up a Lakers jersey with his name on the back of it, that's pretty freaking, right on. And people thought he was going to the Lakers anyways, so it was one of those where it was like, like, yeah, this is confirmation, and it's just hilarious because it was like she literally broke the news.
It'd be a great troll.
So,
Like if I had the opportunity to do that, I would do that I would do that kind of stuff all the time. Like I get a Wizards jersey for no reason. Just or sorry, not even the Wizards, the Hornets or whatever.
the Wizards.
Yeah, just get that stuff
Why'd you
now.
take a shot at the Wizards like that, Dylan? What'd they ever do to you?
I was trying to think of the most irrelevant, boring team, and then that's what I went
Most
to.
irrelevant.
Yeah, so that's what I
Oh my
immediately jumped
God.
to. But yeah, I mean, in
Jeff
terms
Barrett.
of different needs, looks like Cam Akers needs a new ACL, so that sucks.
Oh, he needs a new Achilles, Dylan.
Ah,
Jesus.
well, same
What
difference.
kind of-
So close.
What a joke. I'm keeping that joke in there, Dylan. That was rough. Yeah,
this
Cam
sucks.
Akers. And listen, we're not trying to joke about Cam Akers tearing his Achilles and
No, he held my
rupturing
fantasy
it. It was
team a lot. I'm really upset. He was awesome.
Yeah. You have well, I mean, listen, Cam Akers people thought he was going to be like a big part of the offense this year. That's why it's such a huge loss to them, especially because they got Stafford, and McVay's been an excited like child on Christmas Day ever since he got Stafford, which is rightfully so. I mean, Stafford's one of the most underrated quarterbacks. I mean, us as Bears fans, we've known for years watching him light it up with a team that shouldn't be where on the field. And so we know how he's been and how good he is. And so it was one of those where you're like, man, McVay finally got a quarterback, and Cam Akers was going to be a huge part of that offense moving forward. And then this happened. And so now, like, they're going to have to roll with like Henderson and maybe just, rush by committee, essentially. Maybe pick up a free agent on the market. It's one of those where it's going to be rough
Probably-
goings for a little
Probably
bit.
wait for training camp. Training camp.
Is it
cuts and
Le'Veon Bell a
everything.
free agent?
Yeah, probably
Can he
something like that. For who?
Didn't I say isn't Le'Veon Bell a free agent?
Is he really?
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, he should be after the crap that he pulled with him saying that like he hated playing for Andy Reid. It's like, dude, it's like you have not like nobody has enjoyed coaching you since the moment you stepped on the field, and I don't think that Andy Reid is this
yeah.
bad guy that he made him out to be.
Wow, he didn't never even made it past the faded 30, the big 3-0, and still he's a free agent. That's crazy.
Well, might not be anymore after this. I mean, losing Cam Akers is bigger than what people think, because like having a workhorse running back that you can rely on, especially in an offense that was about to start finally, Stafford's arrival, is huge. So I really do think that people, this is one of those injuries that I don't think is going to get a lot of coverage, but it's going to be as important as it could, to anybody that it could be. So that's why I wanted to highlight, because I was like, man, this is rough, because I was actually excited too to kind of see what the Rams could do. Especially being them going against us opening night, where we're going to lose by maybe at least 20. So it would have been fun to see Cam Akers run all over our defense, maybe. So not going to happen now, but I'm just joking. But anyways, yeah, it's rough and it's unfortunate, and they lose a very young, talented player who was, in my opinion, going to explode on the scene and become. He was honestly, not to sound funny, but Cam Akers was going to be like one of my not sleeper picks, because like he is a starting running back in the league, so he's not like a unknown player, but one of those like unknown players that like in a fantasy league people might not take right away. He was going to be a guy that I took very early, because it was like, yeah, he's going to kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
unfortunately, hey, but you guys got James Conner, so there's that. I guarantee he just rolled his eyes to
about
the
that.
screen, but I just felt that. But yeah, so all right, and then some other fun NFL news. Cam Jordan, the star defensive end for the Saints, and one of the better defensive edge rushers in the league, came out and said, and I'm quoting him, that he said Kyle Pitts is a little light in the ass to play tight end. is his exact quote, I'm pretty sure. And as much as that made me laugh, I do have to remind him that yeah, Kyle Pitts is probably not going to be trying to block you off the edge most of the time. I'm just going to throw that out there. Probably not going to happen. If you watch Travis Kelce and how he's used, probably exactly how Kyle Pitts is going to be used, which is that he's not going to be on the line blocking literally at all. So, which is how he should be. I mean, he should basically be used as a wide receiver tight end hybrid and line up mostly in the slot or at least in an offset tight end position. So that's how it's going to be used. So it's fun. Yes, it's kind of an evolution of the position where, yeah, I mean, he is way more wide receiver than he is tight end for sure. But he still is 6'6", 240. So, one of those freak, of nature athletes. And one of my two players that I had from the draft that I said was going to be a superstar no matter what. And that I stand by that to this day. And Kyle Pitts is one of my favorite prospects. I talked endlessly about Kyle Pitts during the draft process and on the podcast because he's awesome and he's incredible and he's going to be great in the league. And so Cam, I don't think that you're going to have to be really lining up on him much in the league. I don't expect that to be the case unless Cam Jordan is suddenly starting to cover tight ends running in the slot. Don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, has he not seen like a lot of modern tight ends who like don't even block that much, but then they just end up catching a lot? Like, I don't know. That's could clearly play tight end. I mean,
yeah. So
it's a weird take, but I'm just gonna assume it was a funny joke. That's all.
Yeah, listen, it's one of those where in the modern NFL, tight ends are starting to be used as more wide receiver type guys. And that's how Kyle Pitts is going to be used. He's going to be a guy that's going to take advantage of lining up with a linebacker. And that's why you have him as a tight end, is because essentially what you do is you line him up in a position where either a slot corner is going to have to cover him, who's usually undersized, 5'9", 5'10", and you think they're going up on a 6'6" guy. As long as he knows how to use his body, he's going to win that matchup almost every time. And then he's going to also line up on linebackers who he's faster than. So, that's why linebackers for the Cardinals, for instance, for the Cardinals fan, you have Isaiah on your team. Guys like that are why, that's why those guys are so important, is because those are the type of guys that have a chance at covering a guy like Kyle Pitts, because Isaiah Wilson has got the athleticism and speed and size to cover a guy like Kyle Pitts. So, but the guy like Kyle Pitts is what's coming into the league nowadays as a tight end position, which is more of a receiver than blocker.
Yeah, which, by the way, if you have not watched it, I can't say I watched the entirety of it, but I watched a little bit of it. The Meet the Rookies thing for the NFL that came out was really, really cool. And they actually went into a lot of Justin Fields stuff. And again, I think there was even different things coming out for the Bears and all their rookies. Like, everyone has like a 6 or 7 minute video with their life story on it and stuff, which is
Dylan, I actually, after I wrote my notes before we went on live, I was like, I saw those videos pop up and I watched the Tevin Jenkins one and I watched the Khalil Herbert one and the Justin Fields one I clicked on, but apparently it premieres tomorrow at 8 a.m. So
really?
I'll watch that at some point when it comes out. Yeah.
Cool. I didn't even know they were waiting on that one. That's cool.
Yeah, they were really good videos. They were awesome. It was fun to meet them. But yeah, that's those are definitely something to check out. But to highlight that real quick, yeah, I think the issue with Arizona is that they didn't know where to use Simmons, honestly. Because Simmons is he was literally marketed as, and Isaiah Simmons was one of my favorite prospects too. Like, Kyle Pitts and Isaiah Simmons were two of my favorite prospects coming out of the last couple of drafts. And Isaiah Simmons was the type of guy that were he could be an edge rusher, he could be a middle linebacker, he could be a safety, he could be even a corner if you really needed him to. I think the Arizona Cardinals kind of ran into a almost paralyzed by choices kind of thing, where they just didn't know where to use him effectively. I feel like his best position is going to be middle linebacker in the NFL. And then you can even, if you wanted to bring a run stopping middle linebacker in on a play that is going to be run, and have Isaiah Simmons be more of a safety in that scenario, that's where I think he could be used. and then you have him on blitzes, or you flex him out edge a little bit here and there to give the offense different looks. But I think primarily he needs to be a middle linebacker in the series, which, to me is his proper position in the NFL. But they tried to do like a weird, like, we're going to put him at safety, we're going to put him at middle linebacker, but they already have two pretty solid safeties. So it was kind of like a weird, we're going to bring him in on 3 safety sets, but like just not used well enough, or just enough in general, where I think like next year hopefully they're able to kind of figure out like how they're going to use him. And like I said, I think primarily he should be your middle linebacker moving forward, because I think he's the new modern day, speed, athleticism type of linebacker.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I thought this was really cool, and I have a thing to say about this. They are
You go ahead.
looking to premiere Peyton and Eli on ESPN2 for Monday Night Football, which makes no sense at all. I get it, maybe as a tryout type of thing, but like literally the Monday Night Football crew has been trash since Gruden left, so there's nowhere you should have like a lower. You should never have the current team on ESPN1. They should immediately be bumped down to ESPN2 and just swap spots with them, even if they're bad. Just like they've been so terrible for years and insufferable to listen to, that like bump them down to ESPN2 is like the most exciting thing they've done in like 5 or like 6 years. It's so aggravating, but hey, you'll still be able to watch it, and then I guess you have the option, but I won't even consider ESPN1.
Yeah, I'm not even going to consider watching the Monday Night Football broadcast, because why would you when you have Eli and Peyton talking the entire game? Like, that's going to be awesome. Like I want a broadcast one day where it's just Peyton Manning, Troy Aikman, or not Troy Aikman, Peyton Manning, Tony Romo, and like, bring in like oh god, what's his name? He's one of my favorite guys because he just makes everything exciting. Oh shoot, I can't think of his name. But anyways, I just want like a broadcast of those 3 guys where the guy I can't think of his name of, he brings like the excitement, like he just always has
Romo?
this like, huh?
Tony Romo?
Yeah, well, Tony Romo is the one I'm talking about as far as breakdown. Like, I want Tony Romo and Peyton Manning to break down every game and broadcast every game for me, and then I want this guy to be like the like,
Pat McAfee?
like, no, what's his
Trying
name?
to think
Hold
of
on.
who's like the hype guy or whatever that comes in with things. Like, is he an NFL broadcaster already?
I think he might be a college guy primarily,
Oh, okay.
but he's just such a guy that gets everything exciting and
If he's
makes
the guy
everything
that I'm thinking you're thinking of, he's been poached after for years for like broadcasts that are higher, but like has always stuck with college because he's like the voice of college football. Don't know if you're thinking about him.
Charles Davis.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking of. Charles Davis. Charles Davis makes everything sound exciting. I want Charles Davis to announce the exciting moments in the games and the kind of play to play, and be like the moderator between Tony Romo and Peyton Manning. And that's like my ideal announcing broadcasting crew. Like that would be the best.
Like I said before, Amazon and like Twitch already does this, but I really think that is the future, where you could select your own audio track of like who you want commentary from. I think that's probably where that's going to end up going. The choice is super cool, and every time that Amazon has had the contract for like Thursday night games or whatever, they're really like, they're way better than TV quality, and any of the streams are like better than anything you'll get for watching like a Xfinity stream or whatever. Like, it's like perfect. It's like crystal clear, and you can get it on your phone and it's perfect. There's no lag there. Everything they've done is really good, and they've been pushing features like that for a while. So that's where I just see that eventually going. It seems inevitable. Just see if whoever wants it.
Like I said, I just can't wait ultimately for this to happen. I'm definitely like, I'm 100% watching this no matter what. Like, this is the broadcast I'm moving to on Monday Night Footballs. And I told my dad this, and my dad was like, yeah, I can't wait to watch it. And I was like, yeah, we're literally going to be streaming ESPN2, because why would we watch the actual Monday Night broadcast when you have Eli and Peyton Manning who are going to talk the entire time?
It's this season, right?
Yeah.
Okay, each of the next 3 NFL seasons. Okay.
Yeah, they do 10 games for each of the next 3 seasons.
Interesting. So, yeah, no, they're really pushing the multiple options.
The deal was actually done between ESPN, the NFL, and Omaha Productions, which is the production company that obviously Peyton Manning is in charge of and owns. So So it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic because Peyton's fantastic. If you've ever watched Peyton try to like break down things, he is very good at breaking down things, hence why he was such a good player on the field, because he could break down everything as he's seeing it. And so, like I said, that's why like getting him and Tony Romo in a room together and just having them broadcast a game would just be so incredible, because those two guys know in like the ins and outs and can just break a game down incredibly well. And that's why I'm excited for this, because Eli's going to be there to bounce like conversation, because it's not like Eli's an idiot. I mean, he won 2 Super Bowls. The guy is an NFL champion.
Oh, he's funny
And-
too. He's like actually genuinely funny.
Yes. And so him and Peyton are going to be awesome bouncing like just conversation off each other. It's going to be natural because they're brothers. It's going to be so much fun to watch and so much like enjoyable. And I don't want to hype it up too much because like I don't want it to disappoint me, but I feel like it's not going to disappoint because it's just going to be better than anything we've seen already.
Yeah, I mean, you literally can't go lower. I mean, like, there's no anything they do with this like remotely normal conversation between two human beings is going to be better than what's been on there. So,
And
like,
also,
I can't tell you how boring some of the people and their voices and the way they enunciate. Oh, it's terrible. But
and
there, I
also
feel
shout
like they're
out
gonna slip
to,
that. Yeah.
huh?
I feel like I was going to say at first, maybe it'll take a little while for them to warm up, but I feel like obviously since they're brothers, they might just skip that whole portion because they don't need that whole warming up to each other thing. They're kind of just going to go right into it.
Well, and here's the other thing that I'll say too, which is also something to think about. Shout out to the ESPN for like basically, because there was that whole bidding war to get Peyton Manning to broadcast. You know, teams were offering like what 18, 19 million a year or something like that, something ridiculous.
Blank check, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was literally something like that. They were battling it out, and Peyton ended up not doing anything. Shout out to ESPN for just being like, "All right, Peyton, we want you to do games. Just what do you want?" And Peyton was like, "I want to do it with my brother on Monday Night Footballs." And they were like, "Perfect, sounds great. Sign you up."
Yeah.
Shout out to ESPN for doing that, because that's actually, I'm actually glad that and ESPN's been hurting for a while because their production's been down quite a bit. And so the fact that they're like trying to bounce back with things like this, I love it. I love when a company, like a famous company like that, starts to actually like make things better genuinely by like doing things like this that are like fun, different, and like innovative.
Yeah, which again, and also just like an important note too is that it's also like they're doing it remotely, so they actually won't be at games, which I'm sure was a big part of them signing it and everything. But it's interesting, again, that they're doing it on the alternative broadcast, because I mean, you're not cannibalizing yourself. Still, you're going to get people to watch it. But like when something like this finally gets done, I thought they'd be pushing it everywhere. Is like, oh, okay, like, you know, we finally did it. This is our headline crew. We got rid of the other guys, you know, cut out everybody else. This is who we're running with. It's just so interesting that they're doing it on 2.
Yeah, but you also have to remember too, they have contracts with the other people first already. So it's one of those where they already have so much money involved in that main production, you know, that main group that broadcasts. So it's one of those where this is kind of the best of both worlds, where, you know, they can be like, hey, we still can put out that broadcasting team that we spent a bunch of money on, and we can also put out this other broadcasting team that we really want. Because I bet you secretly, if this works out, this is what they're hoping works out, because they want this to be like the actual main broadcast eventually. But it's one of those where they're like, maybe we can do a best of both worlds things, where like we'll see if this works out and we'll give them a platform. And, you know, if it does, we look like geniuses. If it doesn't, then oh well, we just go back to our normal broadcast that we have, you know, already, you know.
I want to see the ratings completely so lopsided, like posts after like a couple of weeks, that that's very apparent.
Like, why would I, unless, like I said, unless they bomb and unless they're bad, which I find hard to believe that would be a thing. Unless they're bad, I don't find myself ever looking over at the real broadcast, because why? Like, you know, why would I go over to the real broadcast so that way they can yell at me about how excited they are that like a pass was completed? You know, meanwhile,
so milquetoast on everything. It's the worst.
They bring up the exact same graphics over and over again. They have the same conversations. I mean, as Bears fans, how many times the last 4 years I made the joke with you when the Bears played the Chiefs like a year or two ago. I made the joke with you that I was like, I think they're just going to put that like that like graphic that like
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were selected after Trubisky up, and I thought they were just going to put that graphic up, and that was going to be the game. Like they just weren't even going to stream the game; they were just going to show that, because that's pretty much what they do.
Yeah, it was going to be take a shot every time they brought that up, and that was a rough time, rough night.
Oh yeah, if you tried to take a shot every time they bring up the fact that Trubisky was drafted before those two on a Bears broadcast, you would be drunk every single Sunday, probably by halftime.
Yeah, well, we're done with that era. No longer at the very least. We have to see that.
Dylan, it's gonna continue because you know why? It's because everybody's going to talk. Yeah, but the talk is going to be again, Dylan. We're talking about why the original broadcasts suck because they keep recycling everything. What's going to happen is the talk is going to be that the Bears drafted Justin Fields and they hope that he breaks the cycle of Trubisky, who was, if you remember, drafted before. Like that's how that's going to happen. That's how that's going to go.
You're right. Actually, the number of times that's going to get brought up.
That's what I'm saying. I already see it happening. I literally see them transitioning from Justin Fields was drafted to hopefully be the guy. But remember that other guy that was drafted before Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson? That's what it's going to be.
Clip this specifically of them having that stupid graphic up when they show like in different ways how many quarterbacks, like what they did with the Browns, like they've had for like this many years or whatever.
Oh God,
and it's going to be like, oh, Mike Glennon, then Trubisky, then like to Justin Fields and everyone else beforehand. Andy Dalton.
Nick Foles in there.
Yeah, Foles. It's literally going to be all of them, and then it's going to be like, oh, they're not quarterbacks anymore. And then it's like, I can see it in my mind, and I know the graphic department already has it prepped and ready. But it's like Justin Fields with a question mark, like, is he going to work out? And then everyone else before him with like X's or something on them. They do it for every team.
Yeah, well, and the Bears, unfortunately, right up there with the Browns and just having a plethora of quarterbacks that are just not great. And
they deserve it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% with the way that our drafts have gone and the way that we've actually, done our teams, run our teams. Yeah, not surprised. I mean, we trotted out Trustman for like 2 years and thought that was a good idea. So,
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So we're excited for this. Obviously, you can tell. So can't wait for this. This is how I'm going to be watching Monday Night Footballs from now on. So can't wait. But another fun headline that came through, which is no surprise to anyone. Jalen Ramsey came out and said that basically the team gave up on playing for Tom Coughlin. Now, we're not saying newsflash, they gave up on playing for Tom Coughlin. Yeah, well, they gave up from playing for Tom Coughlin because Tom Coughlin tried to do what he did for the Giants, which is play that like hard-nosed, I'm a respected coach and I can do this. And listen, there's only one coach in the NFL, really, maybe 2 or 3 if you're counting like a Bruce Arians. Well, maybe I would say there's probably about 4 coaches in the NFL that could pull this off. And it's Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Bruce Arians, and Bill Belichick, who can pull off the listen, it's my way or the highway, and it's my way, essentially. And so Tom Coughlin tried to do that with a young, up-and-coming Jaguars team, which, by the way, if nobody has seen videos on the Jaguars team or remember the Jaguars team or just go look at a video. There's one video in particular that I watched that's hilarious that highlights the collapse of the Jaguars. And it's so incredibly fast how quickly they collapsed that it's like actually humorous to see how a team could just like literally go from being in the AFC Championship 10 minutes away from beating the Patriots in the AFC Championship to make it to the Super Bowl with Blake Bortles as their quarterback. And then just go to where they are now, where they're like, yeah, thank God we have Trevor Lawrence to save our team and make us not bad. So, like, it's incredible. So the fact that, they gave up for Tom Coughlin, no surprise. Go watch that video on their collapse, and it's incredible how quick it happened.
I mean, do you remember, like, the catalyst for that? Like, before halftime, they had, like, a minute or whatever, and then didn't decide to try and score or anything?
Yep.
Literally, and the fallout from that was their entire team dismantling over the next 2 to 3 years.
Well, because it was also like the team was like, listen, this is the last straw because we've been dealing with your crap the whole time. And you keep saying my way is the best way. But when your way sucks and always sucks for all of us, and then you start pulling crap like that where you're not making the right decisions on the field, for a team that obviously was good enough to make it to the AFC Championship and potentially the Super Bowl, you can't do that. Like, that's the type of stuff that you can't, Like if that Jaguars team had better coaching, they probably would have made that Super Bowl. Would they have won? Probably not. But in my mind, though, where that Jaguars team would have been is they would have been like, oh, we just need a quarterback and then we'll win a Super Bowl. And then they probably would have drafted or signed a guy who would have gotten them to the top.
Yeah.
And we'd be talking about today about how the Jaguars, instead of them being a team that was the worst team in the league last year and drafting Trevor Lawrence, to a team that's like, oh, are the Jaguars going to win it all this year? Who knows?
Which, like, by the way, thank God, like, Tom Coughlin's like coaching style is like out of the league, because like
Yeah,
clearly was out of date, but it's so tiresome and so
Mhm.
like literally just so much of a caricature of like an old timey coach and everything. Like his stupid thing that I always hated, which was just like, oh, if you're 5 minutes early for a meeting or whatever, you're still late or whatever. The stupid thing with the time and like the clock everywhere. Like that stuff is so pedantic, and I've always hated it. But especially hearing that from like your football coach is just too much, too much.
No,
So
it's like guys will respect you if you respect them and show them respect. Like
yeah,
Bill Belichick, for all the crap he gets, like his players respect him because he does show the players respect, and that's a real thing. I mean, look at the Patriots this year. The Patriots are actually trying to trot out Cam Newton and act as if Cam Newton is going to be like their starter. Like Bill Belichick's putting his faith in him. Like
yeah,
that's if that doesn't tell you that that team actually like if Bill Belichick actually doesn't put faith in players and like respect in players, I don't know what does. Because no offense to Cam Newton, but the guy did not look great last year and did not look like a guy who should deserve a second shot. And
yeah,
here we are talking about how like I haven't really heard much about Mac Jones being even an option to start. Like it's literally Cam Newton's job. Similar to the Andy Dalton kind of thing here, where it's like, oh, Andy Dalton's our starter. Like it's the same concept there. Like they're very much like, yeah, we're trotting Cam Newton out there, and if he succeeds, he's going to stay.
yeah. No, I don't know. I mean,
So,
like, yeah, Bill Belichick's like, I mean, from everything you've heard, like behind the scenes and stuff, and seeing him, like, if you ever watched some of the older times, where not even the older times, but apparently he has like some sort of not deal, but he goes on like I think every week after like a Patriots game in the local Boston media market, and like breaks down like plays from the last game. I've seen like a number of those. And they're always really cool. So like if you actually aren't like a media like clout goblin, then he's pretty cool, it seems like. And I'm sure that translates to players. I mean, there's so many different things about
listen,
how people like him.
one of the videos that I think more people need to watch that I saw was a video of Bill Belichick, and it was him not yelling at the team, but it was him like scolding the team. And it was he pulled up a video of the team scoring a touchdown, and the quarterback scored a touchdown and was celebrating, and nobody was celebrating with him. And he like scolded the team for like not celebrating. And you're like, what Bill Belichick wants people to celebrate? And it's like, yeah. And it's funny because if you actually listen to what he says in the video too, he literally says to his team, like, why aren't you guys celebrating with him? Like, you guys put in the work and time every single day in practice every week, and you've earned this. Like, this is you're this seeing what you did in practice on the field. Now you should out there be celebrating with your teammates. Like, he's literally telling his team to celebrate. Like, I don't like like the one player of whatever his name was, Marsh, I think his name, who said, that like the players, are treated poorly there. And it's like, really? Because most players that I hear from there talk about how like, no, the team, like they won a lot and they were happy to be there.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it seems.
you know,
I think he just was the type of dude that wasn't in. I mean, from everything that I've heard, that like, yeah, obviously they're super successful and they give you everything you need to succeed. It's just like a grind, and like
well,
for a good reason.
and there are
But some people don't
there
like
are
that.
yeah, and there are some like arguments. I get the argument, for example, that like, you're seeing with Stefan Gilmore, where they're not a team that likes to give contracts to guys when they think that the guy is going to start falling off, which I understand. Like I get the business side of it, but I also mostly side with the players. I try to side with the players most of the time. And yeah, it is kind of crappy the way that they do that, where they kind of ship players out, either right before they're about to get, old or start, falling off. For a business side, for a team side, it works great for them because they don't end up putting a ton of money into a guy, maybe who doesn't deserve it. But then you get instances like this where you go, why aren't they going to pay Stephen Gilmore? He's literally been the best corner in football for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, that's kind of how they've done business. And that is an unfortunate side of the business, but they've also won, 7 titles or 6 titles. So, what are you going to, at the end of the day, the job gets done and you win a championship. Can you really complain? Like, if you're about winning a championship, then can you really complain about how you got there? Unless he's like literally like you're getting abused in practice kind of thing. Like I've been through some hard practices in football and it sucks and it's not great. But guess what? If at the end of the day we won a championship, I wouldn't be that upset about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's
And I do agree that I think like you said, I think that Marsh is probably just one of those types of guys that just doesn't enjoy that aspect, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. I
So.
think I remember their mantra always being like they want to be able to they would rather cut a player like a year late or whatever and have him like excel rather than, lock him into a contract where he falls off for 2 to 3 years. So obviously that's their mantra and that's what they do. It's kind of funny because every year there's a player from that team or like that from that mentality where they go, and I'm thinking of like Malcolm Butler, which I don't think he's like completely fallen off or anything, but like he was really
he's
good.
not worth the money. He's not worth the money that they were paying.
Yeah, maybe not even falling off, maybe just not worth the money, but like he'll have his first great year will be fantastic away and be like, oh my God, the Patriots are so stupid for getting rid of him. And then like 2 years later, it's like, oh yeah, well, now he's locked into a bad contract and he's got years on him still. So like you get it. I mean, you can see where it comes from and everything. It's just, it's funny the cycle because I could think of a lot of different players that happened to, specifically that came from the Patriots and then same cycle over and over again.
Yeah, like the only player that's really broken that cycle is Trey Flowers.
Yeah,
that's and he's been good for sure, but like most of the players that they get rid of are about to fall off, and that's unfortunately how they've done business, like you said. But they've won a lot, so I mean, at the end of the day, if you're part of that team, how much can you really complain? But yeah. We could talk endlessly about the merits of this, that kind of competition, but.
yeah.
We'll transition to another topic. So this is kind of a continuation of what we were talking about before with the NCAA, with the rule changes being that players are now allowed to benefit or make money from their name, likeness, and image. Like name, likeness, whatever the order you're supposed to say that in. Normally there's a different order. I said it in a weird one. But anyways, this is a great example of it. Bryce Young, the quarterback for Alabama, who has not started a game yet for them, is nearing $1 million per Nick Saban in endorsements. And if that doesn't tell you the change and the amount of money that could have been available for all these players for years, I don't know what else does, because that's incredible. I mean, that's like, think about how much money Tim Tebow would have freaking made in his college career had he been a part of this era. Like,
wow, just the donations from the church alone, I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like it's incredible, and and that's the Alabama brand, and it's fine. This is where people might draw the line and be like, the guy hasn't even started a year for them, and he's already making this kind of money, and it's like, yeah, okay, well, he's making that money because Alabama has built a brand, and the reason why Alabama has built a brand is because they're worth billions of dollars, dude. Like, does it really matter if a player is nearly making $1 million in endorsements? He's not getting paid by the organization. Like, that's not what's happening. The organization's keeping all the money that they're going to get from all the TV deals and everything else that they do, surrounding him and his play on the team. But he's able to benefit from his image and likeness. And here we are. He's nearing $1 million in endorsements. And, good for him. I mean, I have to scout Bryce Young. I don't really know him very well as a quarterback. I don't know if he's a guy that really is going to be a college quarterback really strictly, because that happens. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are, college quarterbacks. I mean, if you look back at like Sims for the Alabama team, I believe he was the quarterback when they lost to Ohio State, and that's why I remember his name. But Sims was the quarterback for them, and obviously not an NFL quarterback, so that happens. But I'd have to scout him to see if he's going to be anything in the NFL. But if he's not going to be anything in the NFL, then guess what? He made some money off of his play, which Alabama's going to make a lot of money off his play. So I don't really see a problem there.
Yeah. The only thing that I immediately thought for the rest of the sport is just like, man, this is like literally the NBA's problem with small market teams, like small market colleges. If there's ever a competition, it's not gonna be a competition. It's going to be, I'm going to literally make hundreds of thousands of dollars going to this place. Why would I ever go to your school?
Yeah, but the thing is
It's
that's
probably gonna
not
happen
for
anyways. So
well, that happens anyways every year because the 5-star prospects, they're not looking, the 5-star prospect that's in Alabama isn't looking at Alabama State. He's looking at Alabama. So it's one of those where that's not going to change. So people, like, the concern I get that, like, yeah, players might try to go to a bigger school because of that, but guess what? They're going to do that anyways because
Yeah.
the top prospects will go to a bigger school. That's how it always has worked. If you want smaller schools to have a bigger opportunity, expand the college playoff, because that's really where you're going to get it. That's why you get the UCFs, the BYUs, the Coastal Carolinas that are going to be able to make a ton of money and gain some notoriety off of having a good year. I mean, look at for college basketball. Look at Loyola Chicago. Now they're a team that is in there almost every year. Same with Wichita State. Those two schools were small schools that had great teams, made it far into the tournament, and now they're a team that recruits much better than they used to. And now they're in the tournament every year. They're a team that you're like, oh yeah, they're back. That's how that works. So expand the college playoff, and you'll start seeing those teams that are smaller schools get more notoriety and get better prospects. I don't think this money thing is really going to affect it because guess what? The people that are going to make the most money or enough money to draw them to a school are the people that were already going to be recruited to those schools. It's not like they're choosing, not like Bryce Young was like, well, it was like I could go to Alabama State or I could go to Alabama, but Alabama's going to offer me a lot of money. And it's like, so I can make a lot of money there, so I'm going to go there. And it's like, no, he was not considering any small school whatsoever when he was going to his recruiting.
No, you're right. Yeah, as soon as I went through that I think we arrived at the same conclusion that they're going to be going there anyways. So
that's why I really don't think there's that big of a problem. And it's not like they're going to give endorsements to, you're not going to see this in every player. This is the quarterback for Alabama. I mean, Alabama is literally, the epitome of college football. Them, Clemson, Ohio State, that school up north, Notre Dame. Those are the schools that, get the notoriety and are college football. So the fact that the quarterback for one of those, marketed prime schools, getting the amount of money in endorsements, not surprising in the least. And it's not going to happen countrywide. So, and it's not going to spread to other sports, and blah, 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 whatever, it's not going to make them get paid. And, teams are going to, well, he might go play for Alabama if he's going to get more money. And it's like, no, if he was being recruited by Alabama, he was being recruited by other teams where he would get the same endorsements. So don't worry.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're already getting paid under the table if they really wanted to anyways. So this is just legal, which is always cool. Legal is cool. So,
and then we shift to another, I don't even know how to transition from that, but yeah, we shift to another sometimes dysfunctional organization. There we go. Boom. Transition. The Olympics, dysfunctional as ever, with the Tokyo Olympics being, now a question of, are they going to actually go on? I don't know. It's one of those where now we're starting to see so many different athletes being like, just having issues or just, not being able to go for various reasons or, protocol. I mean, Zach LaVine's not even on the USA men's basketball team anymore because he had to go into protocol. So it's just dumb stuff like that that's happening that you're going to see.
Totally missed that.
Huh?
Totally missed that. I didn't know that was the case.
Yeah, Zach LaVine, it was the Bulls were now, were super excited, and of course everybody was super excited that Zach LaVine was going to be on the USA team, and then he is in protocol and not being able to travel with the team. So there's that. And that's happening, unfortunately, with some athletes here and there, and it's starting to spread, and which is the fear. And one of my favorite things that I saw is a Tokyo public health expert by the name of Dr. Kenji. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but oh God, I don't even know if I want to try saying that.
Shiba Inu, I think, is how you pronounce it.
Thanks there, Dylan. Wow. Well, there goes all those fans.
Shibuya.
There goes all of the Shohei Ohtani fans that we had.
Oh,
Anyways, yeah, no, he said that the bubble is, he literally said, quote unquote, the bubble is kind of broken at this point. And we're not even at the start of the Olympics, and he's already like, yeah, it's broke. And they said basically it's because
duh.
there's not enough, like they used to be able to, during heavy COVID, we would, like look at the NBA bubble, for instance, everybody had to quarantine beforehand. And then when you went to the bubble, you were allowed no outside visitors. Everything was regimented. They were saying basically that they weren't really allowed to do that this year, or that at least the Olympics didn't set that kind of thing up. And so people are interacting with locals, people are interacting with
Yeah,
each
what did
other.
the
People are,
Olympics do? Like literally anything?
there's like testing and they're sending people in the protocol, but there's really not like, it's not as great as the bubble for the NBA. I mean, the bubble for the NBA is like how you could perfectly do sports during a quarantine era.
Yeah.
That's not happening with the Olympics, and there's already been over 70 cases that are directly linked to the Olympics so far, and that's just before the Olympics even started. There's been issues with athletes. There's been issues with bringing in outside people and contact, and there was the whole bed situation, which is hilarious. That some of the beds are made out of cardboard, and they're sturdy beds, but they're made out of cardboard. And of course, the Olympics, nobody ever says this, but we're a show that doesn't care about what we say. So the Olympics are, for a lack of a better word, just a massive orgy at times, where they just hooking up with each other left and right. That's, I mean, it's a bunch of good looking people in amazing shape doing incredible sports and stuff that are having the time of their lives at an opportunity of a lifetime, and in a foreign land. And so, like, yeah, that not surprising that they're going to start hooking up with each other. So the
Yeah.
fact that that's going to happen during a quarantine era, no surprise there. So
Yeah,
that's also an issue.
what an awesome idea. Just like there's an unusually high number of unvaccinated individuals because of like the Olympics. They all, I mean, I guess the prevailing theory was they're worried about those days and the side effects that they might experience and stuff from like getting the vaccine. But like, man, let's bring in a bunch of unvaccinated people in close quarters from all over the world for an extended period of time. It'll be awesome.
Well, and even lack of even disregarding the people that are hesitant, there's also countries that just haven't had the opportunity or haven't had as much opportunity as countries like us in America that have access to the vaccine. And so there's countries like that are in the Olympics that haven't even really had that great of access to it or been able to get it. And then here we are in the Olympics throwing all these people into one place where they normally start to mingle and normally start to already hook up and all the fun stuff that doesn't get reported that happens. And guess what, it's not going to stop because quarantine's happening. If anything, it's going to be worse because all these people have been inside and not able to interact with people of their age for however long they've been training in preparation. And then all of a sudden you throw them, like I said, bunch of good looking people, athletic people in an area together that in a foreign land and a once at a time opportunity. Of course it's going to happen. So
Yeah.
at this point, I don't really know what the Olympics are going to feel like. All it's going to take is for a couple really key people to go down or just not go. And then there's also been some issues too. Like, for instance, you're going to put on screen right here an athlete, which I'm going to read word for word so I don't get this wrong, because out of respect to her. Becca Myers is her name, a 6-time Paralympic medalist with 3 golds from the 2016 Rio Games. She's a swimmer. She's deaf and blind. I think she's the only athlete that's in the Paralympics, if I remember correctly. That's both deaf and blind. She has won, like I said, 6 gold medals. So she's a fantastic Paralympics athlete, and is not going because she was asking to bring her PCA, which is, for people that don't know, it's a patient care associate, generally people of the medical assistant, patient care associate level, or CNA level, which assist in things like, helping her, in day-to-day tasks that would be difficult for a person that is deaf and blind to perform. the Olympics, I believe, are allowing one PCA amongst the team, along with coaches and trainers to go with. She was requesting to have, I believe, her mother is her PCA come with, and I believe that they basically told her no. And so, in response to that, she basically said, like, I'm not going to go because I don't feel comfortable going, which is understandable because I mean, that's we're talking about a person's quality of life, at an event, and also an event that's high anxiety and high pressure and everything. I mean,
But what
so
was the
it's not
reasoning though? Because they had one for the whole team that she couldn't have an individual one?
yeah. So it's like they're trying to limit the amount of people that are interacting, obviously, to limit the spread. And so they were saying that there's one patient care associate associated with the team, as well as coaches and trainers that go with that are already a part of the team. And she wanted her own personal care or patient care associate, which happened to be her mother, to accompany her. And they basically told her no. Like I said, I think they were citing that essentially that they were trying to limit the amount of people that we're going to have exposure. But again, we're not talking about a regular Olympian trying to bring their mother. We're talking about a person who is deaf and blind and, needs somebody there that she trusts to help her with day-to-day tasks. Makes sense. And it's unfortunate, especially with, the lax efforts they're going to have with other athletes, I'm sure, across this whole, course of this event. It's weird that they decided to key in on that, but
Yeah,
again,
of
it's
all the
just one of the
crosses
many
to die
problems.
on, like really, this one, like
Mhm.
this is really gonna be the this is gonna be the straw to break the camel's back. Like, come on,
Yeah,
that's such
that's
a
what I'm saying.
failure of policy. That's
It doesn't make
ridiculous.
sense to me, and I wish Becca Myers all the, all the potential. I don't know. She's 26 years old, so it's one of those where when the next Olympics rolls around, she's athletes, you fall into your peak very quickly when you're an Olympian. So unfortunately, she might not even be, at the level that she hoped that she would be at in this Olympics, at the next one. So it's unfortunate and I wish her all the best. But yeah, it's just a weird I don't the Olympics are not being run well. No surprise to anyone. I mean, that's happened in the past. There was all the issues with the Rio games going on, but
Yeah.
and it's funny because Japan was trying their very best to show the world that they could, handle this and that they could put on a games and that they're rebounding and everything from economic issues that they've had in the past. And not a great image so far to have one of the most hyped Olympic runners in Shikari Richardson not participating because she tested positive for cannabis, and then you're gonna kick out one of the best Paralympic athletes in the world because she wanted to bring her mother to help her as a patient care associate. And then you're gonna have people like Zach Levine not go to the Olympics because he's gonna have to go in protocol. There's just so many things that are just happening where it's like this is just going about as well as you expected in this current modern era.
Yeah, it's sad that all these people that I'm learning about are always from them dropping out, being kicked out, whatever it might be.
Yep.
It's really poor management. I mean, it's not really a secret that the Olympics, along with like major organizations and stuff that are huge around the world, are one of the most corrupt organizations. But man, if you could at least be corrupt and still treat people well, you usually get a pass. But
Yep. Yep.
this ain't it.
Yeah,
Um,
that Dylan, that could not be better said. This ain't it. That's all I gotta say. I don't know what to tell you, but this ain't it.
this ain't it. Which, by the way, Tessa wanted me to mention this as well. Is that I think college, or not college, I think women's softball also kicked off today.
Oh, really?
For the Olympics. I think there was a game that already happened, and I think there was a game that was carrying on the opening round. I think United States beat Canada, and
Oh,
currently Mexico is playing Japan right now.
interesting.
So
Okay.
keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool too.
Actually, like I said, with the podcast that we've done in the past and conversations we had in the past about the College World Softball World Series. If you aren't familiar, go check that out. If you haven't watched the College World Series in the past, go check it out anyways, because it was fun to learn myself. Um, I got to ask Dylan's girlfriend Tessa, who played softball, a bunch of questions, and kind of break it down and really go through it. And softball is actually really interesting to watch when you're watching it, especially if you're a baseball fan already. It's it's fun. It's fun. It's different, and it's a different vibe, and it's a different pace, and it's enjoyable to watch. And so the softball games, I will definitely check out the ones going on right now in the Olympics. So for anybody watching who hasn't, go check that out. But
Yeah.
so
Then we could step into our Marvel phase of the podcast.
yes,
Something
so this
right
is
up
gonna
the
be our Marvel
title.
phase. So I finally watched. Me and my girlfriend started Loki, and we actually started it with like, we'll watch like an episode or two, and then we finished the entire series in one streaming go. So it was awesome. It was great to watch 6 episodes in one go because all 6 episodes were, it was like you get the answers right after you watched it. You don't have to watch it like week to week, that kind of thing. It was being able to watch it in one go was awesome. And Marvel kind of sneakily set up the villain for the rest of what would assume to be the next big, Thanos level threat, which is Kang the Conqueror. For people that don't know in the comics, this actor, which Dylan, you might need to look up on the side because he did a
just won an
fantastic
award.
job.
He just
Yeah,
won an award. I know.
he did a fantastic job in this show as Kang, and is going to do a fantastic job as Kang moving forward, and I'm excited for him. But essentially, for those who don't know, Kang the Conqueror in the comics is there's a lot of variations of him, which if you watch the Loki show, no surprise, he talked about all the different variants of himself that were conquerors and were evil and took over the world and all that kind of stuff and took over timelines and stuff. Essentially, King the Conqueror is kind of almost scarier than Thanos in a bit because he lives to essentially conquer everything he can. So, and the problem is that when you beat one of them, there's like, a trillion, bazillion, infinite more that will pop up because that's how it is. And so, like, it's a weird enemy to fight because not only is he incredible and smart and intelligent and always has a plan and is powerful and is all knowing, that kind of stuff, all those fun things you attach to a villain, he also is thousands of himself over and over again that you have to fight off. And so it's an interesting villain because they're going very hardcore into the multiverse era of Marvel, and that's why we're getting literally multiverse madness or whatever the movie's called with Doctor Strange.
Yep.
You saw WandaVision with Wanda starting to spread into that. You've seen Spider-Man, they're talking about Tobey Maguire and them coming in, the different into the Spider-Verse is literally talking about the multiverse. So yeah, there's just all kinds of those things popping up, and it's exciting. But essentially, in this Loki series, for those who've watched, if you haven't, we just mentioned a lot of spoilers. I'm really sorry. Yeah, I'm really sorry that you're here. Sorry for all the spoilers. Getting very excited because it's awesome. But anyways, if you're still here because you've watched, Kang was great. This actor was fantastic. He started out basically not by announcing himself as Kang. He started out by announcing himself as the One Who Remains, who in the comics is played by a very elderly individual, who's kind of unopposing. They kind of, I don't know if they substituted it for Kang, but they basically made it so that way instead it's a variant of Kang that's a good variant, which is funny that that's kind of the way it's gone. Good in the sense of like he is allowing the world to kind of exist without there being a King the Conqueror, I guess, is the best extent of good you can get. And so he cites at the end of Loki that when he dies, it will spark the essential breakdown of the sacred timeline that the entire universe has been on and the Marvel universe has been on throughout all 11 years of Marvel so far. And when that happens, you'll get the multiverse, and the multiverse is going to lead to an endless supply of King the Conquerors that are going to pop up and are going to be the next villain for the Marvel universe. And another thing too to think about is that Kang is very well associated with the X-Men, which would make sense with Marvel purchasing Fox and getting rights to the X-Men. them starting to incorporate the X-Men into the Marvel universe. How do you do that? Well, you give them a common enemy that they both are related to in the comics in Kang. So, and then
Yeah,
yeah, so what are your
I had
you watched the
so
show
many.
too?
Yeah, I watched through it all. I had so many questions. I won't lie, the ending was disappointing of Loki. This was cool, but in terms of like it being climatic, wasn't really there for me. I liked where it was going, although I just wanted a
Well,
little bit more now. That's all.
yeah, but there's going to be a season 2. That's why they did what they did.
I know, but come on. It was a whole season and it kind of was just like, this is what's happening. This is the next phase. And then boom, that's it. There wasn't a whole lot of resolution, which is more of what I was looking for. But I had so many questions on like, one, is Jonathan Majors going to play the different variants of all the different
Yes.
Kangs?
Yeah,
Because
he's
that's a
already
long
signed.
time.
He already signed on to be Kang in Ant-Man. And
Right.
that's why like I was watching reaction videos because I like reaction videos. I'm one of those people that likes them. Um I was watching reaction videos to him being revealed as the person at the end, the one who remains. And people were like, "Oh, that's Kang," because he's already been announced as the actor that's going to play Kang in the Ant-Man. So when he popped up in Loki, it was a surprise, but everybody knew who he was essentially because they were like, "Oh, that's the actor that's announced to play Kang. He's popping up in another Marvel franchise. He's obviously playing Kang."
Right.
So
Yeah.
yes, he's going to be Kang moving forward. I'll answer that first question.
Yeah, no, so that okay, so that's really interesting because wow, that's a lot of movies, and that's a lot of different roles and a lot of different like
Yep.
acting styles. I assume he's not going to be the same like even personality because variants could be anything,
Yeah.
which is why I
Yeah,
was
that's that.
curious if it's going to be different actors too because obviously there was a bunch of different Lokis and everything else,
Mhm.
but there's so many things they could do with that.
Yep.
So,
And
um
that's why they led this way, so that way they can. Because I mean, what do you do after creating a masterpiece of 10 years of cinema, leading 20 plus movies into in a great conflict and in a final climactic end? What do you do after that? Well, you start opening up for endless amounts of possibilities in the fact that the multiverse exists now.
yeah.
So, but anyways, your next question that you had, because
No,
I watched a bunch of breakdowns and I'm a lot more familiar than I was before. I knew who King was before, but I'm a lot more familiar now.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just so much questions, but just like thinking about different things that they could end up doing or where they're gonna end up going. I mean, I think Kevin Feige, I believe is how you say
Kevin
it, said
Feige.
that said that this is gonna be like it's not gonna be a 10-year build-up type of villain. Like this is gonna be a shorter cycle of like 3 to 4 years or something, which is
Yeah,
good. I'm happy about
that's
that.
understandable. Well,
Yeah.
that's why they're introducing him this early. Because Thanos, they kind of sprinkled in little things in the first like 5 years, and then the second 5 years, they kind of really started to like hammer away that like he's coming, he's inevitable, literally. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
this they're like, hey, he's here, front and center, right away.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're doing that because thinking about anticipating and following and doing that for like resolution for another 10 years, couldn't do it. Maybe you could do like a shorter cycle, like 3 years, and then it's like an Avengers level event. Cool. Whatever. That's fine. I feel like that's enough time. I feel like doing it again and making this a 10-year conflict would actually be worse and get really old very quickly because I don't know what the resolution eventually will be, but I feel like you could really drag out and abuse the whole multiverse like meta game, like a gimmick meta, whatever you want to call it. Like
Yep.
I feel like there has to be an end at some point, and dragging that out to a decade long thing is probably not great because I feel like that would get people tired and maybe a little bit over it. But I
Mhm.
mean, no, he seems cool. I'm interested to see how many movies he's gonna pop up in, and is it gonna be like an Ant-Man or whatever? They beat that Kang variant, but then there's another one, and it's also going to be interesting to feel like you're actually doing anything and there's actually any progress being made in movies because if there's an infinite, this is the problem with the multiverse stuff, like time
Yes.
travel things, is like
Yep.
feeling that there's progress and you're just like, oh, okay, they beat Kang this movie, like who cares? Obviously, this one is one of an infinite. So I'm interested to see how they're going to keep that value and that sort of like importance, which I'm sure they have a plan for.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they had to because they kind of walked a fine line even with the Kang reveal because Kang at one point says because he talks about the Avengers and he says, I paved the way for you to get here. And you can draw your own conclusions from that statement, because it's hard, because when you make that kind of statement,
Yeah,
you
I
start to
hate
go,
that.
well, yeah, because then it shoos you in to go like, okay, so like the whole statement by Doctor Strange of like, oh, there's 14 million possibilities and this is the only one that happened. Well, if Kang's the one that decided that was going to happen, then what's the point of the whole thing? Like the Avengers were going to win no matter what. Like it didn't, the sacrifices didn't matter. Like that was the plot line that he was furthering. But the thing is like they were able to kind of walk that fine line because they established in Loki that there was one timeline. So like because of that being one timeline, like yeah, there were 14, million possibilities or whatever it was that Doctor Strange said, but like the one that they executed, like those variants could have happened is what essentially like Kang would have, because the way that they created it is that Kang has this unified timeline and that's what everybody's running on. But the thing is it's only unified because he gets rid of all the variants. And so like technically those 14 million different possibilities could have easily happened. It's just that he would have had to step in to stop them. But like they did still execute the timeline that he had hoped they would, essentially, is the way that you have to think about it.
Well, yeah, I like those variants when they did happen, they were pruned. So eventually the only one left standing was the one he wanted.
Yeah, but like you didn't see him interact so in the previous movies. So like whether you try to act like he was doing it in the background or whatever, like whatever you want to say to justify that, the way that they can kind of play it off and the line that they kind of walk with this is that that timeline existed and those possibilities didn't come to fruition, not because he stopped them, but because they just didn't, because the Avengers executed the one that he had hoped they would execute. Like if they didn't execute the timeline he wanted, he might have stopped in and then changed it, but they executed the one that he had hoped they would, which was winning and beating Thanos. And so then like it's still like it's one of those where like what they did still is viable because Kang wasn't intervening at that time. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's yeah, I just want to know how they're going to keep that importance. I think that's
Well, they're gonna have to walk
obviously
that line, essentially. They're gonna have to walk that line where they, you know, where if one Kang is defeated and another one comes, you don't just continue to have this infinite stream. There's gonna have to be, I almost feel like it kind of sets up like an already like we're gonna have to stop it at the source kind of thing. Or we'll have to combine the timelines or we'll have to change the timelines or something like that. Could be, I don't know, we'll see. I'm sure they have a plan, like you said. They've had a plan all along. Um, you know, and
it'll be
man,
interesting how they wrestle with like the idea of, free will essentially not existing, because if free will did get executed and it was something other than the sacred timeline, then they pruned it. So like again, and that part can kind of cheapen it if you don't do something interesting with it, because
yeah, but
like you
if they
said, it
don't,
devalues it.
but the thing is like now from here on out, from Loki, the end, the final episode, the multiverse exists now. So they don't have to really think about that because they don't have to talk about it. As long as they don't reference it, like that when the sacred timeline existed that he was pruning, as long as they don't reference it moving forward, they don't really have to address it because anything that happens moving forward is not a part of that timeline where he's pruning specific events to happen, if that makes sense. So like,
Yeah.
like if something happens in the future, it doesn't lose its significance because there's already multi timelines and everything, and somebody's not timelines to make one thing specifically happen. So instead, they're happening organically. Whereas if you reference anything in the past happening that led to now, well, then you go, well, yeah, that happened because he wanted it to happen. Whereas if you just ignore that and you don't reference it anymore, you don't reference the old timeline anymore beyond this point,
Yeah.
then you're able to kind of like gloss over it as like, anything that's done now is organic because there's no one specific timeline.
I guess even outside of that and pruning different timelines, there's also like the timeline. Well, not even the timeline. The fact that there are multiverses, that technically anything and everything has happened. It's just in a different timeline or different
Yeah.
multiverse or verse. that's always been something because I always like would reference and you'd see like things from the comics and they'd be like, oh, this happened in this edition or like this universe or whatever, like Earth 616 or whatever. And it's like, okay, so like, you know, obviously comics are different and you have to have those different storylines or else you run out
Yeah,
of
they're a
things
lot
very
more
quickly.
expansive
Yeah,
and
you don't have like
inclusive.
a canon, which I guess in this case would be the sacred timeline in the movies. So that part's just always interesting to me because it's like there's storylines and it's not exactly like I don't know. It's always like, okay, yes, like Superman died, and I go, oh my gosh, I wonder how that happened. And like this is like the official storyline. And it's like, well, he died in this one, and then this one, and then another story he died this way, and it's like, oh, okay. So
Well,
lots of
and
things.
that's actually a great lead in for the next photo that we'll bring up, which is they introduced in the series kind of this weird this it was weird because you're like, if you don't think about it too hard, you're like, oh, this is a great love story. But then if you think about it too hard, you're like, he loves himself a lot, really. um it
Yeah.
was funny for that reason, but I didn't mind because I'm not thinking about that. Like I'm thinking like, oh, this is just a love story. These are two different individuals interacting. It's not like he's loving a clone of himself. It's literally a different person from a different timeline that he has never interacted with before.
Yeah,
You know,
they didn't really like emphasize or like draw that point out that great because people were
no,
like,
they,
oh my God, like, oh, of course Loki would fall in love with himself. Be like, kinda, but not really. Like they're
yeah.
different
So
people.
in what you were saying, which is a good lead in, is how they'll, what they choose. Like you said, if Superman dies in the comics, you go, well, which death are they going to highlight? Essentially, like what death are they going to choose for him? And then you can, when that death happens, you go like, oh, that's the timeline they're following. In this scenario, this is kind of a combination of that, where with her character, I don't know if you know this, but she's based on two characters or a combination of two characters. So she's based on Lady Loki, which is obviously, where, she's the little female of Loki or female Loki. Um, so Lady Loki in the comics is a Loki where I guess he died and his consciousness was transferred to a body that was created for different reasons, but his consciousness was still transferred to her. And so then he was in a female version of himself and it was a female Loki. And then she's also based on a character who's called the Enchantress, who's like a magic type of user. Hence why they kept referring to her power as like enchanting people and everything, is because that's the power that Enchantress used. And so they kind of combined those two female comic characters into this one character for the show, which I think they did very well, obviously. And I really liked her character. So,
Yep.
that's the explanation for who she is in the comics and who she is in the show in relation to the comics.
Yeah.
So
And I assume she'll be sticking around for season 2. I'm curious to see where they go with that.
yeah, I
Especially
wonder if she'll
since
become a part of like the actual, like Loki. We know can become a part of the actual movies because he's Loki and he's been a part of the movies. But like, I wonder if they'll bring her along too, or if she'll like die in season 2 or Loki or something like that, where they write her off, kind of thing.
yeah, that's another thing too. Do you think that like this variant of Loki will like re-enter the timeline of whichever one that I guess we're gonna assume is the I don't that's another thing too. I don't even know what to use the reference like
Mhm.
most recent timeline as, but
I
basically
mean,
re-enters that.
yeah, like we'll call it like the main timeline where the
Yeah.
superheroes are. I feel like yes, because she has the device from him. When she kills him, she has the wrist device that he uses to do that, anyways. So she could do that on her own. So I feel like yes, because they're not going to kick her to the curb, especially when they develop this like love relationship between the two. So I feel like she's going to join. So I'm going to say yes,
I
but I
mean I mean
don't
Loki
know.
himself.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much they're going to incorporate the shows and the movies. I will say that I wish you had seen Black Widow because I would have more to talk about in this actual, like, Black Widow brings up something that I would be like, yeah, the shows and movies will interact, but I can't
They
say that
have
right now.
to,
So
yeah.
we'll just wait. But I mean, like, how much they'll interact is what I'm saying.
Okay. I mean
But
I the prevailing thought was that like Loki would show up in like Doctor Strange too, possibly.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work because Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness is supposed to be Wanda is supposed to be like the main
Right.
villain, I guess, in that. I don't know what
Yeah.
you want to call it, but like they're gonna battle it out kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Loki will appear in that. I don't know where Loki's gonna appear moving forward. We'll have to just see it. Like I said, they have a plan. We know they have a plan, but it's gonna be interesting to see exactly where they incorporated that. But I do love which is a callback, is the photo that you have there. Is they mention events that change the timeline, the sacred timeline, as Nexus events. And then I didn't even realize until I watched a breakdown, they mentioned this like Nexus commercial for a prescription, like called Nexus in WandaVision. And I was like, they have a plan. They have this all planned out, and I just didn't like you don't see it until it starts to like come about, and this is one of those moments.
Yeah. Yeah. That was pretty fun too. I did not see that one. That's a pretty good one. I like this one a
Yeah,
lot more.
because it's
But
such a callback. It really is. And then another, just to continue the references that they're doing. I do love the show. Really, I love when Marvel knows their audience, and that's why they've done so well. That's why they're at where they're at, where Marvel. Because if you really think about it, in the sphere of movies, having the Marvel universe where it's all superheroes and they've developed like this multi-billion-dollar movie production that spanned 12 years and is still going strong. They've done a fantastic job and it's incredible. But I love all of the fanfare that they still throw, and that's why we come back. That's why we love like anything that Marvel puts out, because they have such an effort into the fanfare and like references that, like, for comic book fans and just superhero fans in general, that make you go like, oh, they don't forget the source material. Like, they are going to honor the source material. And like this right here is a perfect example. Like, freaking the little flash of when Loki in episode 5 is in the void at the end of time and meeting other Lokis, and they're like spanning down into the area where Loki is underground with the other Lokis, and they freaking like pass Mjolnir, and then they pass a frog like jumping at Mjolnir in the jar, and it's literally Frog Thor, and I died. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. What a reference. What a, like, only Marvel will do that. Only Marvel will do that, where they just call back to amazing things like that, where you just go like, yeah, they love the source material as much as we do, and it's great.
yeah. And then of
So,
course
oh, and then this right here,
Thanoscopter.
the Thanos copter was amazing. There's even like at one point they pan like the camera up. It's like a shot where they pan up and they show like a tank. And the tank that they show is like a design that was like it was a nuclear like based tank design that like never went anywhere because it was supposed to be nuclear powered, and obviously that's dumb. So that was like funny where they show that in the void as if like, here's a plan that just got shot and went nowhere, so it went to the void. It's just hilarious. So many references, so many things that they do. It's such amazing fanfare, and it's incredible. Like, it just shows the effort that they put into actually making it, in the shows, like the Thanos copter and Thor, Frog Thor, and the tank. Just references like that. And it's why they're still 12 years in, going strong and making great content.
Yeah, I thought I liked that one a lot. There was also the Thor. Wait, so was that Frog Thor the one that was like trying to break out of the jar?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, I thought
100%. That
that might
was
have
a
been
that
a
was like
new
a
Thor.
variant of Thor that's like a frog,
Yeah.
and that's why he was trying to get Mjolnir. That was like right there, like outside the area in the dirt.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd have to rewatch. I have to see that again. That's pretty funny. No,
Yeah,
I
because you'll see him like jump at the edge of the jar, and he's like jumping towards Mjolnir that's like right there, and it's like obviously that's what he's trying to get.
yeah, that's awesome.
So just great fanfare, and again, like, you make fun of companies, like you hate that companies like exist that just run everything. Like, there's a few companies that run everything, and we all know that. But when a company like that continues because there's certain companies that pump out the same product over and over again, and they know you're gonna buy it because we're stupid humans that don't have choices, and we're just gonna buy it. But Marvel has found this like perfect middle ground where like we know that they're gonna just pump out whatever and we're gonna watch it, but they also like still want to put in the effort to make it enjoyable and like catch references and like just like play to the fans that it's amazing. So
Yeah.
absolutely, you know, enjoyable. Loki was a fantastic series. I can't wait for season 2. It was awesome. You know, any you got any, I don't know if you have any final thoughts on it in general.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny that they said that you don't have to watch any of the TV series to keep up with the movies. I'm sure they'll do like a mini
Yeah,
introduction, but man,
it's
I
full
don't
of
know
crap.
about that.
It's full of crap. I mean, yeah, they announced that Kang, for example, would be in the movie, so like you knew Kang was going to be in Ant-Man. But then when you see him in this, like it makes sense why Kang would suddenly pop up in Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Like, and why there suddenly is the existence of a multiverse.
I guess like apparently like his castle or whatever is supposed to be somewhere in like the quantum realm. So that's going to be maybe a
Yeah.
part of it.
So in this the part where Ant-Man is in the quantum realm, there's like a slight part in the very background where people it looks like there's like a city or something, and it people have said that it looks like the city where uh Kang the Conqueror has like his trophy city where like he has all of his trophies from like the civilizations and team and people that he's conquered. And that's a reference to it, and people think that might have been like an early reference to it. um I don't know if that's just luck that like they had a blob on the background that turned out to be similar and now they can just run with it, but that was something that like has been highlighted. So
Yeah. It's going to be crazy that like such an like literally one of the smallest like Avenger movies or whatever, like character lead-ins or whatever that just seemed like the most basic will be the first, I guess, like to fully feature Kang. Like
yeah.
compared to like the first Ant-Man movie and then comparing to what the third one should be on is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, and they just Marvel's just done such like man, Kevin Feige is just the like a god. He just Marvel and Kevin Feige and all of them are he's just incredible because they just do such a fantastic job of writing. Like they have a plan and they execute the plan, and the plan spans like years and years, and so like they can sprinkle in some stuff that's not going to mean anything until years later. Like this is not giving anything away, but there's an event in Black Widow, and I'm going to talk as general as I can about this so that way I don't break anything for you. There's an event that happens in Black Widow that Black Widow is not proud of in her past, and frickin' in the original Avengers movie, Loki mentions it to her, trying to get under her skin. And you're like that was a throwaway statement back in the original Avengers movie that like he said that like seemed to affect her when he said it, and then it like you didn't think about it ever again because like it never popped up. And then in the Black Widow movie, it's like an important part of the story, and you're like I can't believe that was from the original Avengers movie,
Yeah.
like that far back.
Yeah, I can never tell if they like plan these things that far out or if they just like are they throw in a number of throwaways and they're like, all right, if we ever need storylines, we could just jump back to those.
Listen, if that's the way they go about it, man, they're doing it fantastically because like that was a line like he very clearly references one specific incident in her past, and then this movie has that specific incident be an important part of her past. And it's
Yeah.
like that's a very clear like reference like 7 years before this movie would even come out. Like it's insane. Like I just the level of like just story writing that they got is crazy. It's just wow. Yeah, just wow.
Yeah, just wow. All right,
So
let's end on that just popped up on screen.
Yeah, we'll finish with our last topic and get out of here. It's not going to be super long because I mean, what else to say other than Colin Morikawa, a guy we highlighted before. So go watch our video on him. For all those people, I literally said you should watch this guy moving forward, and here he is winning the Open Championship. He is the fastest person to reach 2 championships since 1934. He's won 2 championships in his first 8 appearances in championship like contention.
Wow.
So yeah, doing things that even Tiger Woods didn't do, and that
You
is
don't hear as
a
much about it.
yeah, and you don't hear much about it. And Colin Morikawa is not a guy that like wasn't talked about much until he won this Open Championship. But guess what? We talked about him before. So go watch that video on our like little introduction into Colin Morikawa. He was one of our golfers that we'd like to highlight. And I think I have 100% who I'm going to highlight next because he's another golfer that made a name for himself in a previous championship. Little teaser in the Masters specifically. That is going to be fun to talk about. Young guy. So yeah, golf is one of those sports that is always enjoyable to play. It's difficult, and until you play it, you don't realize how crazy difficult it is, and how the level of play that these guys are at is just leagues above anything that I could ever hope to be in my life. So it's incredible to watch, and Colin Morikawa put on quite a show at the Open Championship. And again, he did a lot of the things that we highlighted in the previous video about him, where he just, his incredible approach shots and finishing it up with very strong putting is the story of why Colin Morikawa is who he is. So if you haven't checked out those videos, or you haven't just even known about this guy before, congratulations. Welcome to one of the best young golfers at 24 years old in the golf world, who is going to continue to dominate and be good. And yeah, that's the best I can say about him.
Yeah, I mean, another thing on golf too is that you can play it pretty much for the rest of your life, which is another thing that
Mhm.
is pretty important. But I don't know if it's just like I'm getting older or don't watch as much like news as like I guess I would when my parents would have the news on all the time. But like this sort of stuff, like I mostly hear from you, and it does not get to me in other ways. So I don't know if it's just like media is not
Listen,
covering it or what.
Dylan, it boils down to the same conversations we have over and over again about Major League Baseball, and that they just don't do well advertising. Like the NBA, for instance. Craig actually sent me it because it was a great example, and he actually sent me it as like a, hey, this is a great example of what you've talked about. Is Giannis Antetokounmpo today went and ordered like 50 nuggets, chicken
Yeah.
nuggets, and that blew up. That was all over the place. That was literally an Instagram live that he did on his own personal channel, and it blew up because ESPN promoted it. All of them promoted it. The NBA promoted it, and it's one of those things where that's why the NBA is winning fans and viewership, and why the NBA is still going strong to this day as the second most popular sport in the world, because they do stuff like that. You don't
Yeah.
see that happen in baseball. You don't see that happen in golf. You don't see that happen in hockey. You don't even really see that happen too often in the NFL. The NFL does a very good job, just like the NBA does. We're just talking about the Meet the Rookies videos that they're putting out, which is a
Yep.
fantastic marketing job to get to know new players to your favorite team. That is exactly what we're talking about here. You don't really know guys like Morikawa because they don't get brought up until, like Morikawa, unfortunately, is probably going to have to win another couple championships over the next couple of years to start really becoming a name that people know in the sports world well, because he's not advertised enough, because golf doesn't do that. Same with Major League Baseball, same with hockey. They all have the same problem. They all don't advertise their athletes nearly as well as the other sports mentioned, NFL, NBA, even soccer worldwide does a much better job, and that's part of the problem. So,
Yeah. Well,
but
yeah, that's unfortunately a recurring theme, but
yeah, that's unfortunately a recurring theme that will never get fixed because they don't want to choose to do so. And until they do, it's going to continue to be the way where NBA dominates social media and marketing, and the NFL does the same. And every other sport keeps wondering why they can't do the same when they don't do anything that those two sports do. So,
yeah. Yeah.
But-
Well, that's everything we got.
Yeah, that's everything I wanted to highlight. Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting week in sports for sure. There was a lot of topics, a lot of fun ones. We still have the Olympics coming up. I mean, we're talking endlessly about the Olympics and the issues they're having, and it hasn't even started really fully yet. I mean, yeah, you have some softball games, you have some soccer games going on and stuff like that, but we haven't gotten into like the heavy mix of the Olympics that we're going to get soon. So we'll cover that coming forward. We'll talk more about Marvel and stuff like that, and we'll try to bring in more fun topics like that we both enjoy, because we both enjoy video games, we both enjoy movies and shows, and have a lot of similar likes in that way. So we'll talk more about that hopefully moving forward. The NBA is done, so that's over with, and NFL is getting started on their training camps and all that, so we'll, I'm sure, get some tasty news on prospects and players that look good and don't look good and all that fun stuff they'll cover in the future. But
Oh, it's
yeah.
a very exciting time of the year. Lots of
Oh yeah,
transition.
lots of stuff happening, lots of stuff coming. NBA or Major League Baseball is in the second half of their season post All-Star break, so that's going to be fun too, because we'll start getting into the October baseball, which is always amazing to watch and fun to watch. So that'll be where we'll be next. Um, Otherwise, the only thing I want to highlight though for people that are watching is next week, Dylan is moving. It's a big life change there, and I will be assisting him. So
It's the
that will
last
be,
podcast here.
yeah. So I don't know when our podcast will be next week. It won't be on Wednesday because that's when his move day is, or he's hoping that the move day is officially. So
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll see when that actually gets made. I don't know if it'll be a weekend thing or what. I mean, we'll
Yeah,
get there.
probably
We'll figure
delayed.
it out.
Probably delayed week, I think. Maybe a weekend. Or hopefully things settled a little bit. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind either way. It just mean, yeah. So,
yeah.
but thanks everybody for joining us. Had a good time. That's all I got for you as far as finishing closing remarks. Anything for you?
No, that's pretty much it. Most of our catalog for everything we've done so far is now on audio services like Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
So I'd be interested to see how people like that format of clips as is. But
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. Lots of exciting things in the future. Once
Yeah,
I
we're
get
gonna
settled in, I have a lot more time for more fun things to do as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, the video game stuff that we've been talking about is definitely something I purchased and downloaded the Halo thing on my PC, so we can play that at some point together and actually go through that whole series. And we'll put those videos out periodically. We'll do like a level here and there and put those videos and edit them and everything. So that'll be coming. We'll play other video games. Madden's about to come out. I already have it pre-ordered because I'm Madden lovey, junkie, and so we're gonna play that. And yeah, there's fun gaming type things that I think we're gonna do in the future to try to expand as well as finally having some outreach on other websites such as, like you said, Apple product or Apple Podcast, Spotify. Not only just straight YouTube, it's gonna be available audio wise in those facets as well.
Yeah, we crossed the 50 subs threshold.
Yes,
So that's
that felt
cool.
really good. So that felt good, and I hope that it continues to grow. It's fun. It's fun building a fan base this way because it's slow at start, but it's like one of those where you get like a like genuine hey, we actually like you kind of thing, and that's why we're listening. So that's what I look forward to. And yeah, we're just gonna keep being us and keep getting better at it and keep doing more and more, and hopefully see this channel continue to grow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good night, everyone.
Yep.
Time to go to bed.
Good night, everybody.